Hello everybody and welcome to Sportuccino. I'm Richard Parr and I discuss all things related to sports, health and fitness. If you haven't seen the programme before, welcome to the show. We are live every single weekday and today we're going to specifically look at the Champions League. Yes, Leicester City knocking out Sevilla on Tuesday, an incredible game. We're going to discuss all of that with the football commentator Paul Giblin. He joins us on the programme. We'll also discuss Juventus versus Porto and Wednesday's games featuring Atletico Madrid versus Leverkusen and Monaco versus Manchester City. Lots to look forward there. Plus, we'll also have a look back at our polls, our goal of the day, and everything else related to sport. If you've got an opinion and you're watching live on Periscope, welcome to you. Welcome to the viewers on Facebook and YouTube. Get in your opinion of last night's games and also your predictions for the matches tonight. All right, let's start the show with our sports headlines. Leicester City reached the quarter-finals of the Champions League for the first time after beating Sevilla 3-2 on aggregate. The pitch at FC Rostov has been closed by the Russian Premier League after Jose Mourinho's criticism 2 weeks ago. Roger Federer faces Rafael Nadal in the fourth round of Indian Wells. And the chairman of the International Cricket Council has stepped down after 8 months in the role. Just before we talk about Leicester City and the Champions League, I want to say about Dropbox. Now, it's a product, it's a service that we personally use here at Sportuccino. It is something which you can share files across the whole world. If you haven't tried it out before, I've got a link to it on our Facebook and on our YouTube page. It is something I recommend and it is for free. So have a look at that. Click through the link. Of course, if you do click through the link, you will be supporting Sportuccino as well. All right, so Leicester City, this story continues. We thought it was all over when Claudio Ranieri got sacked, but since then they've been revitalised under Craig Shakespeare. His first game as full-time manager, well, until the end of the season, resulted in a 2-0 victory over Sevilla at home. Goals from Wes Morgan and Mark Albrighton. Plus, Schmeichel saved the penalty. Nasri got sent off. So much to cover, so much to digest in that game. And I'm delighted to say that we're going to talk all of this with one of the top football commentators. He's back on the programme. I'm delighted to say that Paul Giblin now joins me on Sportuccino. Hello, Paul. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thanks very much. Enjoying the warm weather here, just to make you all feel a little bit envious in that aspect. Some nice bright sunshine here in Madrid.
Oh, lovely. Yes, very jealous of being in Madrid. One of my favourite places in the world. And of course, Atletico Madrid are in action a little bit later. We'll talk about that in a moment. But of course, the big news was Leicester City beating Sevilla. What's been the reaction in Spain to that result, Paul?
I think big disappointment, especially from Sevilla fans. They were looking at Leicester City, I think, as a possibility to get to the quarter-finals of the Champions League, which is something they really wanted to do. Obviously, they've won the last 3 Europa League titles. They had a brilliant first half of the season, and let's be honest, they were looking nailed on in the first leg in the Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium to maybe take a 3 or 4-0 lead before Vardy all of a sudden knocked the stuffing out of them. But they were still relatively optimistic that they could get something from the Power 8 Stadium. Now I still think of it as the Walker Stadium. So a big disappointment. And now they're a little bit worried that the effect of that might just see the wheels come off the rest of their season. Remember, they're third in the Spanish league table.
Yeah, 2-0 defeat. Another great performance by Kasper Schmeichel. Would Leicester have gone through had they still had Ranieri, do you think?
Oof, I don't know. All I'm going to say is I'm a Hull fan. And when they sacked Ranieri a week before they played us, I thought, darn it. Because it does look as if the reaction has been very, very positive from the players. I have to say I haven't seen them play a great deal this season before last night. But I thought they reminded me of the side that we all, even people who didn't support them, let's be honest, last season ended up basically cheering to the title. It looked like that unit, didn't it? And let's be honest, most of that side was the side that won the league title, with the exception of Kanté in the middle of the park. So I think it has to be said, even though it was very unfair, it might turn out to be the correct decision to sack Ranieri.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Roberto Di Matteo went on to win the Champions League with Chelsea, albeit Chelsea are a very different proposition than Leicester City. Now, what does this mean for Sevilla in the title race? Of course, it's been really close in the last few weeks since we last spoke between Barcelona and Real Madrid. Does this almost give them a slight advantage now that they can concentrate on it and really be up there with those top two?
I think it's one of those double-edged coins things, isn't it? Basically, all I will say is the last few games they've played at home to Athletic, Bilbao, away to Alaves, at home to Leganés, they have started to look tired. Jorge Sampaoli is a very demanding coach. I don't know if you've watched him. I mean, he does his kilometres on the touchline, doesn't he, in his technical area. Doesn't hide his emotions, which obviously got him sent off. But I just think he's a little bit. He's often likened to Marcelo Bielsa, the also coached Chile, Olympique Marseille, coached Athletic Bilbao, and another coach who does look as if when it comes to coaching at a club level, just seems to squeeze everything out of his players, maybe to such an extent that when it comes to the final stretch of the season, which is, let's be honest, when everything's decided, they're on their last legs. So we'll see whether having just one game a week will help them, and the international break, of course, or whether the disappointment of going out of Europe will knock the stuffing out of them. Maybe the good thing for them is there's only one game now before the international break. The bad news is it's against Atletico Madrid on Sunday.
Yeah, that'll be a cracking game. What did you make of the Nasri sending off, Paul?
It was the Nasri I think we've seen at Arsenal and Manchester City rather than the Nasri we've seen playing really well at Sevilla this season. I mean, I think Vardy probably cast the fly into the water, didn't he? And Nasri basically took the bait. And it's one of those, if you were James Vardy, you'd take a yellow card each, knowing that Nasri had already got a yellow card, but he should have controlled himself better. And it's something he hasn't done of late. He hasn't done throughout his career, let's be honest, unfortunately. And it was a major handicap because Sevilla this season, when he's played, have really been a different looking proposition.
I was surprised quite how many players I recognised, if not from the Premier League, but from other big clubs around the world. They've collated a few names, so to speak. And Nzonzi, of course, missed that penalty, the former Blackburn and Stoke midfielder. Kasper Schmeichel's been a really important signing for them. Of course, he was playing at League Two at one stage with Notts County. Incredible stuff there. So we'll see how far they can get on. Juventus also 3-0 winners on two legs over Porto. 1-0 winners last night. Dybala with the goal there. Did you catch any of that game at all, Paul?
Must confess, I was all watching the Leicester and Sevilla game, but I do think the standout thing was Iker Casillas' appearance yesterday means he's actually got the record, hasn't he, for UEFA appearances for a player. So well done to Iker, continuing after he was basically forced out of Real Madrid.
Yeah, it didn't go very well for him those last few years, did it?
I think we're seeing with Keylor Navas that when Real Madrid want rid of a keeper, they use all of the machinery at their disposal to get rid of them, one way or another.
Yeah, are we expecting a new keeper next season at Real then, Paul?
Oh yeah, absolutely, definitely expecting a new keeper. Yeah, Keylor's not been at his best, but I do think there's been an incipient press campaign against him after his exceptional performances last year. And if there's a press campaign against a Real Madrid player, it's only because it's been given the go-ahead from the Madrid president, Florentino Perez. So I think what they're trying to do, unfortunately, is take a bit of credibility away from Keylor. They've knocked his confidence. I think that's very obvious as well from a few recent displays, not the least on Sunday. And it's a bit of a vicious circle for the bloke, who's apparently a lovely, very, very decent bloke as well. But I do think he is going to be out, at least not going to be first choice next season with somebody. Well, it's looking possibly as if they're going to make another tilt for De Gea. We'll have to see what happens this summer. Hope they've got a new fax machine.
Yeah, I wonder what might happen. Also, Courtois, I see, is rumoured as well. But I know they've been going after De Gea for a long, long time. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Let's talk about tonight's games. Atletico Madrid versus Leverkusen. It's straightforward for Atletico, isn't it, Paul?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, they haven't got Gabi, and very combative central midfielder, so it'll be the Ghanaian Thomas in the middle alongside, probably with Saul. But yeah, I was looking at it, I think Bayer Leverkusen have only won one of their last 10 matches in the knockout phase, and so they've got to come to the Calderon they've got to score 3 goals against Atletico. I think have conceded 1 goal at home in their last 8 European matches. So you wouldn't be betting heavily on the Germans overturning things, to be brutally honest.
Thank you so much to Paul for being on the programme. Really good to get his knowledge. We were discussing the Leicester versus Sevilla game on our Twitter page. Let's have a look at the result of that poll. And 60% of you thought it was going to be Sevilla, while 60% of you were wrong. 40% of you were right. Leicester City went through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League thanks to that 3-2 aggregate victory. On the show yesterday, we had the sports journalist Neil Reynolds talking about Manchester United's game against Chelsea, and he was quite critical of one thing that Jose Mourinho did in that game at Stamford Bridge, which Chelsea won 1-0 in the FA Cup quarter-finals. Let's have a listen to exactly what Neil was talking about.
Previously on Sportuccino.
I think that was probably the worst decision he's made all season. Mkhitaryan for me was the only player that Manchester United had in that first 15, 20 minutes, and without Ibrahimovic up front as well, and no Martial, and I was surprised Rashford didn't look well. He didn't look fit, and Mkhitaryan was actually supporting Rashford. So when he took him off, it was just a complete shock, and that was when Man United kind of retreated into their defensive shell and stayed there for the rest of the game.
Sorry for you there who may have noticed I did freeze for a little bit. You could see me, you could hear me, but you couldn't quite see me move. Never mind. Every single day on our Snapchat page, we talk about setting goals. We talk about what we want to achieve in our goals. Let's have a look at what is on our Snapchat page today. Just off to complete my goal of the day, I'm heading to Talent 2017. It's a digital recruitment festival here in Brighton. Let's see if I meet any cool people. All right, I've set my goal of the day. It's now time for you to set yours. Little bit of tennis news for you now, and Roger Federer will face Rafael Nadal in the 4th round of the Indian Wells Masters later on Wednesday. It's going to be a classic game. I believe they're 4th on the main court in Indian Wells. I believe the coverage starts in about an hour and a half's time, so expect the game to be maybe about 6 or 7 hours wherever you are in the world. What a great game that will be in prospect. We saw the Australian Open final went to 5 sets, which Federer won to win his 18th Grand Slam. Is he the best ever? Oh, he's certainly up there, isn't he? And so is Rafael Nadal. So it'll be fascinating to see them renew their rivalry at Indian Wells in California later on Wednesday. And we're talking about that on our poll on the Twitter page. Let's have a look at it. We want your prediction. Who will win the last 16 match at Indian Wells? #tennis. Will it be Roger Federer or will it be Rafael Nadal? Love to get your thoughts on that. We do have a quiz question right now. It is, who was the highest scoring English player in the Premier League in the 2009-2010 season? It is on our Facebook page, in fact. Get in your answers on the Facebook page. Who was the highest scoring English player in the Premier League in the 2009-2010 season? I'll give you a clue. The highest scoring player throughout, the top scorer in the league, was Didier Drogba, but we want to know who was the highest scoring Englishman. Get involved in that on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Sportuccino. All right, we have come towards the end of another show today. Just before we go, let's get a quick reminder of today's sports headlines. Leicester City reached the quarter-finals of the Champions League for the first time after beating Sevilla 3-2 on aggregate. The pitch at FC Rostov has been closed by the Russian Premier League after Jose Mourinho's criticism 2 weeks ago. Roger Federer faces Rafael Nadal in the 4th round of Indian Wells. And the chairman of the International Cricket Council has stepped down after 8 months in the role. So that's it for today's Sportuccino, live at 16 GMT on Facebook, YouTube, and Sportuccino.com. Sportuccino.com is your home for everything, including the latest podcast from the best in the world with Richard Parr, where I speak to Olympic champions, world champions, former world record holders, and former world number ones. This week, I spoke to Rebecca Soni, the swimming Olympic champion. She won 3 gold medals, multiple world titles, broke multiple world records, and we have a fascinating chat about all things to do with what made her the very best in what she does. I will give you a little snippet of it tomorrow on Sportuccino. So we've got much, much more. Don't miss us. We are on Facebook Live. If you don't get the notifications that we're live, just click notifications at the top of the page on Facebook. Go down and click notifications on. Then you will never miss a live show on Facebook, because it would be great to speak to you every single weekday. All right, I've been Richard Parr. Enjoy your Champions League Wednesday action, and I will be back with you on Thursday with more sports news on Sportuccino.